We are in the weekly Torah portion. I'd like you to please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, hit the notification. We already have 104 people who have subscribed. All I need now is 896 more, and I will get paid for this channel. So let's do this, guys. Let's sign it up. Okay. We are in, like I said, weekly Torah portion, Portion-Mishpatim. We're on page 416 in the Art Scroll. I'm going to do the first pasuk, just the first pasuk, first verse, and then I'm going to jump to verse 7. Okay? We've done the first part a lot, but we have to understand the very first verse before we can go on. So it says, Ela Mishpatim, these are the laws, and this means civil laws. When we talk laws, these are the laws we understand the reasons for it. It's not a question. Ashitasim lifneihem, that you, Moshe, will put in front of them. Rashi says something that's so important here that people like to skip over it sometimes, I think, but it's very important. So Rashi brings down the Midrash that says, Am Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said to Moshe, Lo taladacha lomar, it shouldn't go on your mind. You shouldn't think to say, I will teach this chapter to them 2 or 3 times, or until it's what do you call it, fluent in their mouth. But I won't trouble myself to teach them the reasons for the ta'am is interesting. Ta'am is taste, not the reason. Siba is a reason. Ta'am mitzvah. Whenever we say that, is the taste of the mitzvah. In other words, we're not really giving it a reason, but we're making it palatable. So I can either teach you, don't do or do, or I can say, don't do because of blank. This is how it's going to help you. I give you the ta'am me'am mitzvot, okay? That's really what ta'am me'am mitzvot is. And so he says, Moshe may have thought, he doesn't have to trouble himself to teach the people that. Therefore it says, put it in front of them. How does that mean? Like a set table that a person comes to eat. Picture yourself going to you come to your dinner table, and I'm going to be very, what's it called, male chauvinist about this, okay? Your wife, who was normally prepares a meal for you, depends on which family you're really part of, whoever the cook is, but I'm going to use the male, female, okay? So your wife, you come to the table, and your wife puts on the table a raw chicken, a potato that's not peeled, and everything is not done. And you look at her and say, honey, what's going on? She said, I didn't have time, but if I did, it would have been a good meal. Yeah, but here it is. It's in front of you. Or the more recent, if I really want to update this, when you say, what's the supper? So they say, look in the refrigerator and make something. It's right there. Figure out what you want. Leave me alone. Okay, that's not the way to teach Torah. The way to teach Torah is to have it in front of the person, have it really well prepared what you want to say, and then with the reasons, or again, something that's going to speak to the person, that's more the Tamim Mitzvah, it's going to speak to you, and you're going to want to do it. If I can do that, if I can present it in such a manner, then, and that takes forethought, by the way.
What Rashi saying, that's the set table, that everything's prepared so that you'll understand.
Correct. So
is Rashi the first one? Is he? I'm assuming.
No, he's bringing the Midrash.
Says Shulchan Aruch, yeah.
He's bringing.
Is he the first one that used the phrase Shulchan Aruch?
No, he's bringing down like I said, it's the Midrash he's bringing from the Mechilta. So the Mechilta would have been the one to use that.
Uses the phrase Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
A set table.
A set table. Yeah. So, and it's the Mechilta, the Gemara Eruvin. There's a lot to learn from that one verse, but I want to just go to that one. That was the one thing I wanted to focus on, because again, I think many people, when they're teaching, they tend to forget that, and they want to they like the back and forth, what we call shaklavitaria, the back and forth of the Talmud, but the kids sometimes, or the adults listening, sometimes get lost in all the back and forth, and they don't know why they're doing it, as opposed to if I give you the overview, and then I say, okay, once you understand that and why we're doing this, now I can go deeper into the story.
So with this Yosef Karo, right, with Shulchan Aruch, so this was his objective, in other words, to lay it out so that you understand everything.
Correct. If you go to the Code of the Jewish Law, the Shulchan Aruch, so then you'll see everything that in an orderly fashion. I want to know about
makes logical.
Right. So I want to know something. So he will give you the a tefillin. Okay, teach you about the laws of tefillin. So what he'll do is he'll put down the main. Here I am talking about making it clear, and I can't make the words out here. Okay, he's talking about the overall idea, and then he'll go into specifics as you go. So if you ever want to find anything out, you never look at the first law. You always keep going, because you'll find out the exceptions to those cases. And again, that's in order. That's all in order.
Actually, even the Kitzer does a pretty good job of abbreviating it.
Correct. Well, he's just following the order.
Yeah.
But all those are trying to make it easy for the person.
It's organized.
It's organized. Unlike the Torah, which is not organized.
Yeah, you have to really...
The Talmud is not organized. Nothing else is organized. I mean, there's an organization there, but we don't see it as clearly as the Shulchan Aruch or the Rambam, Maimonides. Those, they were much clearer with that.
It's kind of like you. I'll quote you. I'll quote my own rabbi here. I think you said once before that the Torah is the what do you call it?
The headlines.
Yeah, the headlines are the using the notes. What do they call it?
The Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes, and the Talmud is the detailed lecture.
Correct.
And as we go along in time, it gets more and more detailed breakdown.
Correct. That's what old tradition in general. Yeah. So we keep breaking it down because we have to understand it. Okay, and we keep losing because of diaspora, and we lose more and more and more as we go on. Also, we need to have more. And also now that we think we have books and everything else, we don't feel the need to memorize it. So it's there's a good and a bad to that. In the old days, you'd have to memorize it, and not everybody had libraries in their homes. So if the audience would see what's in front of me, I have a whole library in front of me, right? So but they only see the back, they only see the wave. Okay, there was those people in the waves had no library. Okay, but that's really what it is. Today we have computers, we have Google, we have Safari. I'll give them a hit on the thing. Asher Torah. You have there's so much Torah on the net. Besides what I do, I'm just. I'm not even a ripple in the wave of Torah on the net. I mean, it's just so much there. But since it's out there, people don't feel the obligation to work as hard as they used to.
Get into the actual source
and to memorize. To memorize.
Yeah.
Again, all I have to do is go to shul. I can pick up any book I want. So it's no big deal. Or I'll go online, HebrewBooks.com. It's all online. Okay, so now we're going to, like I said, I already did the first section. We're dealing with the male slave. Now we're going to go to the other section, which is chapter 7, page 418. And we're going to just look at his introduction. It says, sale of a daughter, 7 to 11. He says, until a girl reaches puberty, the Torah gives her father the right to, quote-unquote, sell her as a bondwoman. But, as the passage itself and the teachings of the sages make clear, this right is given him for her benefit. He is permitted to sell her, again, quote-unquote, sell her, because the sale is expected to result in her marriage to either her master or his son. In fact, if neither of the two marries her, the Torah regards it as a betrayal of the girl. If one of them chooses to marry her, the purchase price received, by means of which she will become consecrated, the purchase price received by her father will constitute the kesef kedushin, the betrothal money, by means of which she will become consecrated to either one of them, equivalent to the ring that is currently used to effect betrothal. Ordinarily, a father should not exercise his right of betrothal while his daughter is still a child, but in the case of this passage, he may do so because it is an opportunity to provide for her future that would otherwise not be available. The girl goes free without payment in one of three ways. Either the end of the 6 years, it's only a 6-year time that she's sold, upon the advent of Jubilee year, the 50th year, or when her puberty begins. So if he sells his daughter when she is 10 years old, he only gets 2 years. If he sells her at 11 years old, he gets 1 year to make that decision. And even though he got a good price for her, it doesn't mean anything because she's released if he doesn't want to marry her.
This is one of the most misunderstood ideas amongst our critics, especially the atheists. So just look at this. Look what your book says.
Correct. Now again, the sale is
sell your daughter. You're crazy.
That's right. Now the sale of the daughter is only for the girl's benefit. It cannot be to the girl's detriment. Okay. You could argue, wait a second, this girl, how does she know she didn't love this guy? She didn't meet him, whatnot. They didn't go on a date, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we can all get into that. That's not what marriage was. That's only in the, welcome to the America where we get to these sort of marriages where we have to love, go out and lust, and then hopefully get married and love. Okay, that is not what the Torah was talking about. The Torah was, or for years, the way you would get married is you would have the parents would figure out who to marry you off to, so you could have a decent life and so on and so forth. And that's what it was. The girl and the guy, by the way, would have a choice in a normal situation to say, no, I don't, I can't live with this person. This girl doesn't get that choice. No. That's the only detriment. And if the guy wants her, if the guy's willing to marry her, she was sold by her dad, and that was it. So that is the unfair, quote unquote, unfair part that I would agree with. But it's something. It was to protect her. It was not something that was supposed to be done. Okay, so if your father, I don't know, the father has no money, he wants his daughter to be good, so he'll take care of her and sell her. That's the concept. Okay, so now it's again, we just saw what happened to the man when he was sold. Now we're going to the women. So we're on 7. So when a man will sell his daughter as a maidservant, lo teitze k'tzed ha'avadim, she does not go out like other slaves. Okay, what is an other slave? We're talking about, according to Rashi, the Eva Kanani. We're talking about a person who was a slave, a non-Jewish slave. Remember, we do have slavery. We're not against slavery. Okay, we're not. We have slaves. It's called Eva Kanani. Now, the only difference between American slavery or the rest of the world, but I'm using American slavery and our slavery is when you bought somebody, you basically made them an Eva Kanani. They had to accept it. They had to accept to be an Eva Kanani. You couldn't force them. And what happens is they get a half conversion. They go to the mikveh, they get they have to, if it's a male, circumcised. And what happens is they take upon themselves all the 365 negative commandments of the Torah and non-time bound positive commandments. So they're out of, if I remember correctly, 14 positive time-bound commandments. In other words, they do not put on tefillin, they don't sit in the sukkah, they don't do those sort of things, okay? But they still have an obligation to keep some part of Torah, okay? And much more than the Ben Noach. And if they don't want, I have to, using memory here, which may be faulty, so I'll say that up front. If they do not accept to be Eva Kanani, then they also have to be released. We can't keep them forever.
How would a potential slave owner come by this Eva Kanani?
On the marketplace.
So who have owned this person before?
He could have sold himself. He could have.
You would put yourself into
right. You could have put yourself into indentured service.
You were broke. You didn't have any other means.
You're broke. I don't know if they had. I'm sure they had a slave market, and so. Did they steal the person? I don't know. Again, I can't say what they did. I'm sure that there was a black market. Nothing's new under the sun. Yeah. But if you know it's a black market, and you would still hire, if you would get this guy, remember all the slave trader wants his money. So if I want to have him, and again, if he doesn't want to become an Evet Kanani, I have to let him go after.
These would be strictly non-Jewish slaves.
Yeah, I'm saying.
If you knew the person was Jewish, it'd be your obligation to free him, or would he still become
You'd have
indentured?
No, you have to. No, a Jew can never be indentured. A Jew, if you know it's a Jewish slave, you buy the Jewish slave because he has to pay off his debt. So you're hiring him basically, and he has all the rights of a Jew. I mean, in other words, he has to go to minyan. He has to. He has to do these things.
I mean, in term, he would. Is there a difference in term of this? And again, using these words because I have to use the word enslavement between a Jewish slave and a non-Jewish slave.
The non-Jewish slave goes free after 6 years. I'm sorry. Take that back. The Jewish slave goes free after 6 years.
And the other?
If he accepts Evet Kanani status forever, he can remain with you forever. If he doesn't accept the status, you have to let him go
Immediately.
I think it was
he
immediate.
change his mind later? If he accepts and works a few years, said, I'd really like to leave.
Well, as an Evet Kanani?
Yeah.
No. No. If you accept Evet Kanani, you've again, you have a lot of rights with Evet Kanani.
I mean,
and it's
the
not
owner has to provide.
Right, he's taking care
of
your
needs.
Right, and your family and so on and so forth.
And
so
I'm assuming that
it wasn't a bad deal in reality.
That unjust punishment would not be allowed.
Well, that's what we're going to hit. What we're going to say.
Just in modern days, we have the kind of the shaky concept of debt slavery. It's not as formal, but
it's called debtor's prison.
The what?
Right, debtor's prison.
Or just being so in debt that you never have any, you don't really have a ton of choice.
Well, the choice in America, and that's what differentiates the slavery from what we are, is anytime I want, I can quit. Okay, I can quit anytime I want. So it's up to me how I'm going to get my monies. But there's no job. If I ever have a job that I cannot quit, I'm not talking about contractual jobs. I'm saying if I ever get a position that I cannot get out of it no matter what, so then I became a slave. So I broke a commandment because it says you shouldn't make yourself. I shouldn't say that. I didn't listen to Hashem. Hashem said, "You are my servants. You shouldn't be anybody else's servants." That was the previous thing where we said we bring him to the doorway and we pierce his ear because he didn't listen to Hashem. So it's not a desirable position to put myself in to become an indentured servant, which would be the Jew who tells him to pierce his ear. But even there, by the way, after 50 years, he's released. At the Jubilee year, he's released. I shouldn't say 50 years. The Jubilee year or Shemitah, whichever the case is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing you mentioned before, you could compare it to American historical slavery and anywhere else in the world for the most part. People, the country was invaded, so people were taken against their will.
Like I said, I'm not sure. Right.
That's what bondage is. That's what,
Right. So like I said, when you became a Jew, the slave of a Jewish owner, Torah, if he's following Torah, you have a lot of rights as his quote unquote rights as his slave. Okay, but we're getting back to this. Right. So what's the major right that this slave has, a Canaanite slave? You ask, can we do anything we want? The answer is no. If we knock out his eye or his tooth, he goes free. And as a matter of fact, if we do anything that's to his 24 limbs, as it were, his hands, something like that, he goes off for free. The girl does not. Okay? The Jewish slave does not. There's only an Evet Kanani. In other words, I can own the Evet Kanani for the rest of I will own for the rest of his life and her life. But if I abuse them and I, again, knock their eye out, whatever the case is, they're free. And by the way, when they're free, they become total Jews. That's the pay raises they get. Because once I release them, they become Jews. Wow. Because that was a conversion. That was a partial conversion.
There was no other conversion than what if they're freed.
They're automatically Jews.
Wow.
They can't sue me because that's the ultimate thing. But the I shouldn't knock
But
them.
that breaks
That breaks the bondage.
Yeah.
Unlike a Jewish person, where if God forbid somebody would knock out the eye of a Jew, what you have to do is pay the penalty.
Then you got to pay the damages.
I have to pay the damages because you were never my servant like that. I never owned you. So, but I have to pay like anybody else if I would knock out the eye. You have to pay the damage, okay, for the eye. So that's why it says here, lo tetzei k'tzeit ha'avadim. She doesn't go like other servants. Rashi's saying that that's relating to the non-Jewish servant. Then he says, Imra'a be'enei Adonai. If she is not good, she's bad in the eyes of her master. Asher lo ya'ada, that he does, who he didn't want to designate. That's how they put it. Who should have designated her for himself. Okay, if a hefta, so she will be redeemed. She has to be redeemed. So what happens? Amnachri, to a non-Jewish nation. Lo yimshol amachra bebigdoba. You cannot sell her. He cannot sell her to sell her as a for he betrayed her. Okay. So here she has. This is one of her major rights. She can't be sold to somebody else. And he says when it says he was bad, what does it mean? Bad. He didn't want to marry her. Okay. See, he bought this girl. And remember, the understanding is, I buy you because I want to marry you. You're just too young to get married right now, so I'm not going to do it. Fine, but when you get to be of the age, I want to marry you. Kesef Kedushin. Fine. And then he decides, you know what? I don't like you. I don't want you. Okay. So it says that she gets redeemed. So you say, what does it mean? You give her a place that she can redeem herself and to go. In other words, even if you have to help her to redeem herself. And what is this? You subtract the amount the year she was working with you, and then you charge her the remaining amount. So he says, for example, how is this case? You bought her for a mana, and she was with you for 2 years, and then they say to him, you know, you have to marry her basically after the end of 6 years. And he says, no. So Nimsa Shekanit Avoda Kol Shana B'Shishit Shmana. So we know that the amount she was paid for was 1/6 of a mana every year. That's what she got one. He paid 1 mana for her. So that's 1 mana over 6 years. So it's 1/6 of a mana. So now she was with him for 2 years. So that's already 1/3 of the money he used up. So now she just gives him 2/3 of the money and she can go. So she can buy her way out. By the way, so can a man. Okay, again, they're always... What happened was, and again, I discussed this either last year or 2 years ago. In slavery, when you're being bought, when I'm buying the guy, I'm paying either his debt off or something else. Now, as a result, I've paid for your services. I prepaid for services. I can't abuse you. I can't make you do, I cannot say, weed the garden until I come back if I don't need it done. I can't give you that sort of a work. It has to be a real job. Or you get a day off, whatever the case is going to be. But I shouldn't treat you like that. So not that you can sue me for that either, but the Torah is telling us that we can't do that to a person. So because she's not your servant per se. Okay, if I want to do it to Eved Kanani, I can do it, but not to the Jewish person, because I only hired him for his services. Now, if that person suddenly hits megabucks and he can buy his way out, call a kavod, all you on to you. You owe me blank dollars. And that's what happens, okay? That's what I'm saying. The slavery that we talk about in the Torah is nothing like the slavery we've been taught about when it comes to the South. The blacks could not buy themselves out of it.
Right.
Okay? There was no way. If you beat the black up, you killed them. There's no harm, no foul. You say you lost, you lost, and I'm using their language, you lost an animal.
A piece of property.
Piece of property, that's all you lost. We say, no, you killed a person. You can't do that. You'd have no right. God didn't give you the right to murder or to do this or that. So that's what I'm saying. When we use the word slavery here, it's not the same, and that's for all your atheist friends out there. It's not the same as American concepts of slavery or anybody else's. Again, I don't think anybody else has the rules that we have, that if you wound somebody, you take out their eye, they go free, and they become a regular person in society. If I'm wrong, let them put in the if I'm wrong, put in the comments that I'm wrong, and please give me proof. Okay, I'll be more than happy to look at it and answer you. Okay, so that's number one. Then it says you can't sell her to non-Jew. She'ena rashai l'machra la'acher. You can't sell her to another person, neither the master nor the father. So again, she gets sold back to she comes back. The guy doesn't want her. Fine, free agent. So now the father says, "Oh, look at that! I can make more money." So it's all before she's 12 years old. I'll sell her one more time. No. You already messed up. Forget it. You get one shot and that's the end of it. Okay, that's what Rashi. That's what the Gemara Kedushin is saying. Then it says, "Big doba, you rebelled against her. You betrayed her." Excuse me. Im ba godba, if you came to rebel or to betray her, shlayikayim ba mitzvah, because you didn't fulfill the mitzvah of this designation, and also the father can't do it because he can't sell it to another. Fine, that's number one. Now he says, but we have a choice. V'im livno yadena, that the master has a son, so he could always say to his son, "Hey, I have a nice girl for you." Okay, so, and I already paid for her. I gave Kesef Kedushin. Again, I married her. I have the ability to marry her. I don't want her, but you can have her, son. Okay, fine. So he does. Kemishpat abanot ya'aseh. So you should treat her like the rights of a young woman. What does this mean? So number one, Rashi says, if this, like I said, the master gives it to the son, Melamed, it teaches you that Sha'af beno kam taktav, that even the son, his son, can be in his place for this, if the father so desires, and he doesn't have to give more new monies here. And now this is strange, and that's why they have to point it out, because what's normally the case? If I want to marry a girl, I have to give her money or a contract saying money or something like that. I have to give her something, and that is what makes the acquisition. I am buying the woman's, by the way, what are we really buying when it comes to a woman? To quote American law, exclusive sexual rights. Okay? That's what it means. You're separating her from the rest, and thus you're going to make your life with her. Now, you could be, in the Torah's times, we don't do it anymore, but you could have multiple wives. There was no reason, you could do it, if you can afford them, okay, you could have more than one. I'm not sure why you would want more than one, except maybe more children, but again, normally I think most guys are, it's not normal to have more than one.
Yeah, I've read something about that too, and having those same discussions, and being like, "Oh, is it King Solomon or King David? They had 700 wives. Well, maybe he had some money, you know."
Well, no,
most people, no.
By the way, if they were learning the Torah, they would find out he had only 300 wives and 700 concubines.
Concubines,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but still,
the everyday person, no.
right. But he was also marrying them just as more political things. It wasn't doing because he wanted somebody.
Yeah, that's up until the relatively modern age. They would across Europe.
Most people were, like I said, most people were content with one. They weren't going for more than one.
Yeah.
Okay. But nonetheless, he says you have to give her. So what you're learning here, though, is so let's go back to what I was saying. If I want to marry her, so I can't say, "Oh, you know what? I'll marry you." But forget me. My brother's good, so I'll let him use my money. Well, she's not a prostitute. The answer is no. No. She has to give you back the money because she can't. If she doesn't accept it, or you want to break it off. If you want to break it off, she may have to keep the money, but some of it she'll give it back to you. And then the brother, if he wants, he has to give her new monies. Here we're seeing a new thing, that the father who paid originally to the master who paid to her father. Okay, so the contingent was, if not me, then my son. That was understood in the original acquisition. That's why that can work here. Okay, then it says, when you do that, though, you have to treat it like the daughter, like an old person. And so Rashi explains, what does that mean? She'er kasut va'ona, that you have to give her food, clothing, and sexual rights. In other words, you have to be with her. You can't treat her like a concubine. She is a full wife. Okay? And he says, "Imacherti kachlo." Now, let's say this guy, he got this girl. Okay, very nice. And now he decides to take another one. Okay, yeah, he wants to take another wife. Fine, it's his right to do so. So then what happens is, the Torah says, he cannot take away her food, clothing, or marital relationship. He has no right to do that. Okay, so again, she has all those rights. She's a full wife. If he wants to get rid of her, he would have to give her a divorce. A divorce would cost him, let's use their terms, 100 goats at least 100 goats, which today it would be considered a year's salary. She has no, she has to accept now, and here. If he wanted to divorce her, he could divorce her, and that would be it. And she really doesn't have, if I remember correctly, biblically, she has no rights to say no. Today, it's a different thing. Today, we can put a stink up. But when you have to give the girl, and again, I want to go back, not Jewish law. He didn't like the girl, hit the skids. I don't owe you a dime. Have a good day. Okay? Came to Jewish law, suddenly, you can't say hit the skids. I need you to leave, but I want you to leave, but I have to pay you to leave. Because, again, you're not a prostitute. That's it. That's as simple as it comes. You're a Bas Yisrael. You're a daughter of Israel. Therefore, I have to pay to say, and you go. But I have to pay you. And it's all contractual. Everything's contractual there, and that's why in American jurisprudence. So what happens if you make the prenup, right? So then everything is clear. The divorce is a very simple divorce. Here is what we agreed to. Have a good day. I love you. We don't get along. Great, it's done. Or to use what they say in the Hollywood, we had an uncoupling. That was Hannah something, some crazy star said. We had an uncoupling. Okay. But that's what it should be. It's a simple thing. It shouldn't be that we shouldn't, what happens here is we allow, it's a famous rabbinic midrash. Man is spelled Aleph Yud Shin, right? Woman is spelled Aleph Shin Yud. If you take the Yud and the Hey are the non-common letters, the Aleph and Shin are. What is Aleph and Shin? Fire. Okay, what's Yud Hey? God. If you take God out of the equation, all you have left is fire. Okay, that's the famous thing we said to all the Chas and Kala, every briding group. But that's really what's going on here. So you see that in American jurisprudence, where the two people who are getting divorced, there's no love left. It's pure fire at that point. Somebody's hurt, and they're going to get the other one. They take him to the cleaners, blah, blah, blah. But if you have a prenup, that doesn't happen. The ketubah was basically the prenup. Okay? Our ketubah was a prenup. Where this is what's going to happen. If during our wedding, during our marriage, is what your responsibilities are to me, my responsibility to you. It's very well clear. It's a contract. Okay? When it comes to death, this is your Mr., this is what you get. Miss, this is what Mrs., this is what you get. And when it comes to divorce, again, this is what you get, this is what you get. That's it. Okay, so we know, walking in, I know what I have to pay you. So now, and again, it's not a matter of love that I got married to you in the first place. It was, I wanted blank. So how do I know if I love you? Again, love is a joke when we say I love you until you're married to the person for many years. That's when you can really when you're in your second, third, and fifth, 20th, 50th, and you say to the girl, you say to your wife, I love you, that's qualitatively different, I hope, than the first time you said to her on the when you were dating, I love you. I love you, and that dating was I lost you. I love you was really I love you. Okay? So that's something that's going on that, again, we have to take into consideration here. Then the Torah says, excuse me, if these three things, again, he had three choices. He had to either be miyayed her, to designate her to him or her son, or to subtract from her the owings and let her pay it off, or to actually marry her. Okay? So if he doesn't do all those things, lo yaseh la yatsa chinam ein kasav, she should go out free, no money. What does that mean, no money? In other words, she doesn't have to pay her way. You decided you don't want to do these things. She cannot stay with you anymore. Why? Because she's not a prostitute. It's as simple as that. Okay? She has her rights. It's an amazing thing that, again, when you're looking at this, if you look at it simply, you're saying she has no money? Oh, what, you're just kicking her out? Hit the skids? No. I mean, she doesn't have to pay you to get out.
And you already prepaid her.
Right. Right. You prepaid her, so she made money on the deal. That's the point, okay? So it says, and this is to include, by the way, when she goes out, if she hits, again, puberty, if she hits puberty, game over. Okay? He has to make a decision. And so that's really what it was happening here. Does he say anything that I should say? If you look at number 11 at the bottom, it says these three. If she is not married to her master, his son, or if she was not redeemed, she goes free without payment at the conclusion of the obligated time. The sages derive from this verse that she has the means of going free that does not apply to male bondsmen. She goes free with the onset of puberty, even if she has not worked for the 6 years. Again, you have to make that decision because we want to safeguard our girls. We don't want the father to sell her. Hashem did not want the father to sell the daughter. But he gave her away. Hashem gave the man a way to support his daughter. Okay? Not you should use it, but it was a way. But at the same time, you can't abuse that privilege. Okay? And when you do that, she has rights. And you have to follow those rights. Hashem made it this way. That's why I say when you look at this and you think of slavery, it has nothing to do with our concept of slavery. And if that's all I can cover today. But I really wanted to make sure that we understand that slavery in the Torah is not slavery of the South or anywhere else that we're talking about. This is a unique situation and a relationship that people have, that Hashem has allowed people to do. May it be the Evet Kanani. Again, they have rights. Where else do you see, where other culture do you see that if you hurt the slave, that you take out an eye, take out a tooth, then he goes free. I mean, you put him in a boxing match and the guy gets his tooth knocked out, freedom. The question is, did the guy want freedom? Remember, he's being taken care of. These guys are not being abused. And that's something, again, I challenge the world to tell me I'm wrong. I really do. Show me where I'm wrong with what I'm saying. That the rest of the world holds that we have to treat these people, our slaves, like humans. They're not. They're subhuman. In our minds, they're subhuman. We don't treat them. We treat them like livestock. We treat them like property. They have no rights. In Judaism, just the opposite. They have rights, and we have to take care of them. And if we don't, in this case, if we don't marry the girl, or if she hits puberty, that's it. Okay, we'll have to stop there.
Oh, okay. Okay.